Okay, you have built XY tables before to represent a linear equation. For example, x plus y equals 3. We've built tables like this before and we said, hey, let's make an XY table. And it's any two values that we could add together that equals 3. So an x and a y that equals 3. So how about 0 and 3? Does 0 plus 3 equal 3? Yes. So this point 0, 3 is actually on this line. What about 1 and 2? Yes, 1 plus 2 equals 3, so that's another point on this line. Um, 3 and 0, that's another point that's on this line. This time the x is 3 and the y is 0. What about negative 4 and 1? So this works. Negative 4 plus 1 equals 3. So we've made our own XY table, very similar to this. The only difference is I've given you the table and I'm going, hey, can you figure out what the equation is? I need the linear equation. And in this case, we're going to put it into a slope-intercept form. And it's very similar to what we did in 510. In fact, the only difference is the very first thing is you take out 2 points. So I'm just going to take these two just because they're close to the top of the table. You could take out 0, 0 if you wanted to for another point. But this part is very, very important. If I take this 12 out for your x, it's bound to the 4. They're an ordered pair, so I have to pull out this whole point. This is my first point. 3, 1 is my second point. So I'm going to say again, do I have to take these 2 points? No. You can pull out any ones you want, any points, okay? Personally, if you were looking for the smartest way, I would choose 0, 0 and probably 3, 1 because they're the smallest ones. And when you're working with 0, that's very, very easy. But I'm just showing you it doesn't matter what you pull out. So let's pull out the two that would make it a little bit more difficult. After you pull out these 2 points, well, I would write them on your paper just like this. That way you're used to seeing, oh yeah, this is exactly what we were doing in 510. That's where I gave you 2 points and said, hey, can you find the equation of the line that runs through these 2 points? What's really happening is you pull out your 2 points, but this line goes through all 4 of these points that are given, or however many points are in this table. You still have to use this equation, the slope equation. So I would take these 2 points, here's 12, 4, and I would label it, hey, this is point 1, this is point 2, and so you've got your x1, y1, x2, and y2, and you're familiar about how to plug them into slope at this point. If not, go back and look at my video, how to find the slope. After we get done subtracting, you got negative 3 over negative 9, and this is just a reminder what happens when both of the numbers are negative, top and bottom on the fraction. Basically, it's a division problem. You know, negative 3 is being divided by negative 9. And when two numbers are dividing each other, it makes it positive. Are we done simplifying this yet? No, I can make it 1/3. Why do we bother to simplify it with the slope? Well, one, it's standard practice. If you go into another math classroom, they're going to be simplifying the slope there. But two, when we go to use the slope, the smaller it is, the better it is. So now we've found our slope, which is m, 1/3. And I've already got my x1 and y1 labeled. And so there's my x1 is 12. See, this 12 was x1 and my 4 was y1. And so the next thing that we do is we plug it into the slope form, point slope form. So here's my point slope formula or equation. My slope is 1/3, so this m becomes the 1/3. My x1 is 12, so my x1 is 12. And my y1 is 4, so my y1 becomes 4. After this, you've really only got 2 more things to do, but basically it's solving for y. If you wanted to break this down into smaller steps, the very first thing you do, always distribute, okay? Do this first, always distribute. Once you plug it into this formula, distribute. So you're left with the same thing we've talked about before, and you can go back to my 510 video if you need a little bit more help, but 1/3 times x is 1/3 x. But 1/3 times negative 12, I'll save you a little bit of a trip. 1/3 times 12, or excuse me, negative 12. How do I make that into a fraction? Put a 1 under it. 1 times negative 12 is negative 12. 3 times 1 is 3. It's negative 12 divided by 3, the negative 4. Okay? And there's lots of different styles about how you can do this. I don't have too much of an issue about how you go about getting it as long as you can get -4 at the end of it. And then the very last thing that you have to do at this point then after you get here, after you've distributed it, is get y by itself. So +4, that makes this go to 0, so the y is left by itself. Pull my 1/3 x down, and then I added 4 to the other side to keep the balanced equation because I had to do it over here. -4 plus 4 equals 0. Little technicality though, anytime that your y-intercept is 0, just write your equation like this. Will I be taking off points on like a quiz tomorrow for putting +0? No. But going forward, I'd like you to just say, okay, +0, I don't need to put it there. This is what my final equation would be. As an extra strategy to help you know if you're doing this right, when you get this formula, it's the same thing that we were doing on, I believe it was section 5.8. It's whichever section that we were looking at, does this point go through the line of this given equation? Well, here's my equation, and here's 4 points. If I took 4 and times it by 1/3, I'm sorry, if I took 12 and times it by 1/3, that's my x value, y is going to equal 4. If I take 3, what's 3 times 1/3? 1. Let's plug 0 in for the x. 0 times 1/3 is 0, so y equals 0. Yep, there's the 0. And -6 times 1/3 is going to make it -2. So it makes this whole table of values work, and that's how you know for sure that you've got it right. If you follow these steps, though, you really shouldn't have an issue. Find your slope, plug everything into our point slope form. First thing you got to do is distribute. So once you get done with distributing, the last step is just get the y all by itself. Same thing as 510. It's just the only difference is that instead of getting your 2 points given like this, you've got to come down here at this table and go, okay, I've got to choose 2 points. I like 6,3, so that's the same as 6,3, and I like this 4,2, so that's the same as 4,2. Because this information is the same as 510, I'm not going to give extra problems of practice on this one. If you have any issues, click on my website, dtateраceland.weebly.com, and at the very first page, just scroll down to the bottom. There's a little contact box that'll put in your email address. Send me a message. I'll get back with you as soon as I can. And if not, swing by in the morning, and good luck.